Good day, televiewers. We are pleased to have you on board this edition of the program, The Lamb, over WAKA Africa TV. The Lamb is that program that brightens and minds, ideas, and redirects our personal ideologies to global thought. Very privileged this day to have in the studio gentlemen who, of course, will be discussing facts and issues that will give you reason to want to always belong. Before we get started in today's edition of the program, permit me now to introduce to you the guests I have today in the studio. Permit me to start by introducing to you Honorable Ntam Jeams. He is the former SDF MP for Boyo, Boom Fundong subdivision, and he is a businessman. It's a pleasure having you on set, sir.
Same to you, Ambe. I'm happy to be here. It's a singular pleasure.
Thank you so very much. I will also be introducing to you a household name to the program. Gaby Ambo. He is a human rights advocate, consultant on the right of the child, and an anti-corruption crusader. It's a pleasure to have you on set, sir.
But the pleasure is mine, and I always like to take this opportunity to be here.
Thank you. In today's edition of the program, televiewers, we will be discussing about the PSS Nkwen Saga, which you already know, and we'll be looking at how helpful has the curfew been to the northwest region? Permit me start by asking Gaby Ambo, who happens to be a right of a child advocate or a consultant, however you may choose to put it, what he made of the situation when you got that those number of children with some teachers were kidnapped in their school premises.
Yeah, thank you, Ambe. Thank you for the opportunity once more. I think it was a troubling situation. Anything that helps on the lives of children and their welfare, it's troubling and worrying. And most especially at such troubling moments that the country, and particularly the Northwest and Southwest, are at risk with themselves. At risk with themselves because the people are definitely confronting strange people with the dawn of every new day, in terms of how they fare in their life. So to have children be tampered with at this given point in time by whoever, it becomes a worrying and troubling issue. Aside conventions, aside the treaties, aside the regular norms, the morals of our society that warrant that any child needs to be given the care he or she deserves until he or she matures to become a mature person to be able to engage the actions of society.
Thank you so very much. Honorable, you are a man of the people, going by virtue of the fact that you've served the people before in the parliament. When you got the news of children being kidnapped in the school in Nkwen, what came to mind?
I was shocked, I was amazed, I was embarrassed. I mean, you kidnap the vulnerable class of the society. By the vulnerable class, I mean children, women, school children, the old, the weak, and the handicapped. When you touch this segment of the society, it seems to me the most obvious reason is that you may be a psychopath, or maybe somebody who does not take cognizance of the gradients that we have in society. You touch the vulnerable class, you pick up kids, which are just students or pupils in schools, defenseless and weak, and you pick them up because you have that supernatural power to supersede their own physical power. I think, to me, I was shocked, I was embarrassed, and I was amazed at this barbarous audacity.
Now, going by what happened, and we are getting that it did happen around the earliest hours of the morning. With the curfew, can you imagine how this good number of students and their teachers were ferried from PSS Nkwen, that's in Tasen, and that's right to Bafut? We can call the location where they were found because they had to move this distance. Is this explainable?
It's a matter of responsibility. The person who engaged the curfew takes the responsibility for the safety of these children. If you impose a curfew, you are supposed to endorse the safety of the people who are under that curfew. Why I say I was embarrassed is because it's amazing to think that the forces of law and order, they have the free will from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning to parade the town. They own the town. And they know they can forecast those areas which are susceptible to attacks or susceptible to misactions from certain groups. They were supposed to know that schools were a possible target for whosoever had that ambition to touch that segment for his own mission.
Thank you. Gaby Ambo, what explains the fact that this had happened before? We only got this later. It had happened before, and the school authorities and the principal of all schools, who happens to be the moderator of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon, did not inform administration when the first 11 kids were kidnapped for necessary security measures to be taken. I am asking this because the Honorable certainly blames the administration for putting in place the curfew and not putting at the disposal of the schools and other areas security.
Yeah, definitely. You know, this is a troubling and a challenging issue at times like this. Leaders of all sorts, you know, heads of institutions of all sorts, and key personalities in our community, in our country, in our regions, definitely have it very hard on them not to be able to get into decision making when it comes to some of those elements. You take the case of the Presbyterian Church or the PCC, and you realize that the moderator, after having faced that incident, probably he wanted to act smartly and protect the children, because if he had let it out, definitely the parents would be worried and they want to go for their children to pick them out of school. And he thought that he could easily, resolve the matter at that level. But failing to understand as well that if he does it that way, it will be like a pretty good beginning for business to begin to happen.
Which it was.
So they will be coming on us not to ask for such money, and which actually followed the video. And that's exactly the situation that happened. But I thought that it was important for him not to get the inner core and talk with them as the way forward, so he can be able to take an action that will definitely hinge on the people accepting that kind of idea. In as much as he tried desperately to arrest the children or secure the children or provide to them what they needed first, but it definitely didn't work that way. Take the case of Boko Haram, and when the government of Cameroon started negotiating and releasing members of the Boko Haram, that definitely did not bring the matter to us. It never even happened that way, and now even up to now, nobody is telling us about who actually were they negotiating with. So this brings a lot of troubling issue, because to drag a little bit on this, I go back to the school when the incident happened after the 31st of October, when these 11 children were picked from school and taken away, and you could get inside the video where they were asking about, the principal, or whether the children had the number of the principal and all of those things, and it wasn't long. The principal was picked, and all the other 82. Okay, you put the number together, 82 plus 11 gives you 93. We're talking about 93 children that were carried away in less than a week, or about a week. Okay, and so it happened the way it did, and then the administration, as I was reliably informed, carried on the 5th of November 2018, close to about 5 other staff of the school of the PSS Nkwen, the vice principal, the bursar, the discipline master, the guard, and the driver, and they are currently, as we speak, up there at Gendarmerie Groupement, and definitely they have not been charged. No action so far has been brought against them. My worry and my question as a human rights defender and advocate is to want to find out exactly why do you have to violate the laws of the land.
That notwithstanding, we will not get there because I don't have the fact. But I wish to ask you from an anti-corruption perspective.
Great.
You are a crusader.
Great.
Do we say the moderator and the management of the school for them to have paid the ransom of 2.5 million to the first case, or for the first case of the 11 students to have been released? For the 11 students to have been released, do we say the management and the moderator of the Presbyterian Church are accomplices?
Can we look at the definition of corruption? Corruption, in a sense, means you using entrusted power for private gain. Did you get that definition?
As of now, we cannot ascertain whether 2.5 million was used because they kept seal lips, which means that we can also ascertain whether they paid 500,000 and they are claiming 2.5 today. That notwithstanding, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I understand you perfectly well. But my definition of corruption was to bring us to your question.
Perfect.
Corruption is, using, authority for private gain.
Sure.
Okay? Using entrusted power for private gain.
Perfect.
Can we look at critically at this situation that happened with the moderator and whoever he negotiated with to pay the money? Was he using entrusted power for private gain, or he was trying to liberate the people or save the situation? However challenging and however difficult that answer will be, but what is important here is that he definitely was in a difficult situation to make a decision. And maybe he got a decision that is worrying and troubling to both of us. All of us here seated and all Cameroonians, and most especially from Northwest and Southwest. And that's why at times we'll find fault in his action, and other ends would think that any other person in that situation will do the same. But my question is, it was definitely not actually a corrupt practice, but that it was like trying to solve a situation, freeing people by giving money, which definitely is wrong, because those persons themselves, that is not their trade. They are not supposed to be doing what they did.
Thank you. Excuse me. Honorable, we are talking about the moderator of the Presbyterian Church, who happens to be one of the frontliners of the Anglophone General Conference. And going by facts, the frontliners of the Anglophone General Conference, they have not met with neither the separatists nor with the government of Cameroon for them to have this meeting, which was postponed. We're talking about one of the frontliners who already had the one-on-one with separatists, or let's say unidentified gunmen. I would not like to say separatists, negotiated with them and gave them monies for release. Don't you think it puts a very big question mark?
A very big question mark indeed. We are talking of a situation where there is a total loss of trust and confidence in the authority that be. Because if they come and kidnap your students and you don't report and you take upon yourself the duty or the responsibility to engage in releasing those students without informing the authorities that be, who have that natural ability to do that legally, it means you must have lost faith or trust or confidence in the institutions of the land.
Or in other words, you are protecting and supporting those who did the act.
No, not supporting. I'm stating the fact. The fact is the moderator must have lost confidence in the authorities that be, not to have engaged them in soliciting the release of the captives.
Why should this trust be lost?
It's a factual situation. It's what is happening on the terrain. It's what is happening on the field. I feel that we are in a situation where the government is in an impasse and does not want to admit it, that it is an impasse, and to look for alternative measures in solving the situation. The government is seeking to assert its authority in a situation where authority is already de facto lost. And it's a factual situation. Can the Cameroonian government maintain security in the southwest and the northwest? The answer is an emphatic no. They cannot maintain security in the northwest and the southwest.
That said, Gaby Ambo, is the curfew helping matters in the region?
Of course, just like any other person outside that knows, even the person who put the curfew knows that it is troubling and worrying. It does not help at all. If the intention of the government was to help bring calm and serenity within the community, it has boomeranged, because many are people in their various homes, on their way to job, at their workplaces, even at the loo, are being attacked by people you definitely cannot identify. This time around, we don't even know, because those who even attack people are neither dressed in regular uniform or in the uniform of the armed fighters in the community. So
has armed fighters a uniform?
They don't have a uniform, but they have a peculiar appearance. They have a unique way in which they interact and they carry on their own actions. And so that's why you're able to distinguish between the act of the freedom fighters and the act of some exploiters who have been brought in by some warlords, if I want to call it that way, or those coming from the regular forces that are coming from the government. So you realize that it is very disturbing and challenging because I expect the government to be smarter, to be wittier, and to be feel a lot more vision and good sense of direction, because when you have a control over people, when you have a control over the people, you should know exactly when to hit and when not to hit. You know when exactly to tell a story and when not to tell a story. What kind of story to tell and which and when it is necessary to tell that story. That's exactly what the government is. The government is missing out on the basics on the ground. Not that it doesn't know, but because it wants its own game, and not the game of the people, and not the game that is the truth, and not the game that hinges on the realities of the underground. And that is the exact situation where you cannot get it your way instead of the people's way, because it's not everything you get your way. Most of the time you have to go the people's way, because they, the people, are the power, and you are an authority, and nowhere in the world shall authority supersede power.
Honorable, when this happened, the governor of the Northwest region released a document which stated that there will be no movement from subdivision to subdivision, from division to division, or from region to region. That within the subdivisions of the country, sparing out Bamenda 1, 2, and 3. Within the twinkle of an eye, we had these children. Don't you think it was rather a positive move?
It was not a positive move to me, because the opacity of the events. I mean, the government, the governor did not put forward the sequence of events that led to the liberation of the kids. Neither did the government answer the pertinent question of who kidnapped those kids.
Okay.
The separatists, to the best of my knowledge, rebuked and refused the fact that they did not kidnap the kids. On the other hand, the government said it was not aware of who, or they blamed the separatists of having kidnapped those kids. And suddenly, after 48 hours or 72 hours, the governor now comes and says the kids have been liberated. We've not heard the story spoken by those kids who were kidnapped, the victims themselves. I've not heard. To me, it's a problem of not just the legal responsibility of the state, but the moral responsibility of the state. By the moral responsibility of the state, I mean the state coming out clearly and honestly to tell the citizens what is and not what the state wants it to be.
Is the curfew helping matters in the region in terms of security?
The curfew has rather paradoxically worsened matters in the whole segment. The number of cases, reported and unreported cases of banditry, harassment from diverse segments of accusations have quadrupled. The curfew has not helped the situation. People are being harassed. The other day my neighbor was, my neighbors, they had their cars burnt down by so-called supposedly separatists who gave them warning to support the struggle, and they did not. And at around 6:30 p.m., their cars were burnt down at the car park. So to me, the curfew has not helped the situation. And it begs the question whether the curfew is the appropriate answer to the current situation that is prevailing in the Northwest and maybe in the Southwest region of Cameroon. Is that curfew the appropriate situation? Because that's what I call a moral responsibility. That you accept that what you are doing is not yielding the fruits, or is yielding the fruits that you intend. We are talking about 3 years of a rigmarole, of a system that goes in, goes out, goes in, goes out, but the results remain the same. Is that the reality of the situation that we're facing?
Thank you, Honorable. Gaby, of recent, I had colleagues who confessed to me over the weekend that they enjoyed nightlife in Victoria. Permit me ask you, is it but very allowed that there is no actual law which allocates the rights for governors to sign by virtue of their feelings or wants or wishes for such curfews? Because the littoral, or rather, sorry, the northwest and the southwest, they are going through the same situations, but the atmosphere here in terms of the mode of operation from our administration is but very different from what obtains in the southwest region.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ambe. If I understand exactly what you intend to say is like, how is life definitely not faring on the northwest like it fares in the southwest?
Sure.
Because the nightclubs in the southwest are operational. There's no night curfew in the southwest region, where I was opportune to be a few days back.
Okay.
In the OPEC city, the Victoria most precisely. My concern and worry is that the people, the citizens, no matter whether it's at times of war or at times of peace, deserve due protection on their rights. And those guarantees are there in conventions, treaties, and covenants signed and ratified by all civilized nations the world over. And it takes those civilized nations to go to live up to their own engagements, their own commitments, and need not cite the Article 45 of the Cameroon Constitution, which give leverage not to international law in terms where it comes to conflict, not with the national law. It takes precedence over national law. In our given circumstance, we're talking about the life of the people. The economy of Northwest most especially has been brought down to zero, and definitely no life operates from 6 p.m. And if you take cognizance of the fact that most of the businesses operate from 6 p.m. till dawn, like those who run nightclubs, those who run this of licenses, unlicensed, and you can name them, a lot more other businesses, transportation vehicles, transportation businesses, agencies, and all of that, they fare more at night because it has been a practice that has been on for quite a long time. Now, this sector has been brought now down to zero because the authorities, maybe in trying to fight one ill, created a worse one. And I suppose that it's important and the right moment for the authorities of the region to revisit the action and think that, not necessarily comparing them with the colleagues in Southwest, but to think that Southwest or no Southwest, the people of Northwest deserve recognition. Because if you are searching for a thief, you don't come with everyone for a thief. You search for a thief. And to get a thief, you know exactly what it takes to get a thief. It's not every citizen that is a thief. So go for the thief and let the people free. And the only way you can successfully do that, lift the curfew and use other conventional methods. I wouldn't side them here with the government because the government has mastery of that. Use other conventional methods and you will pick them, okay, from wherever they are. Going on to the next question to see whether or not even these actions we're talking about here, are they necessary? Are we strangers to the issues we are facing in our community? We are not strangers to it. The government definitely is not stranger to it. And I want to tell you that the person who leads this country has a mastery of what is keeping us this long. And nothing much serious is being done. The impression that we're being given is like, it is not it. It is just some little persons who are trying to create problems. We can sort them out, we can deal with them. But here we are. 3 years, you rightly said. Okay? And we are nowhere near any solution. It is troubling and worrying and degenerating with the dawn of every new day. Let's call the consciences of our leaders to order. Let them realize, as humans as they are, although the people who deserve to feel and fare in same situation like they are. So let the economy of Northwest begin to boom. Let the curfew be lifted by the authorities concerned. I know they are level-headed as well, and most especially the governor. I know and I trust him for who he is. At times, as a leader, you have some other difficult things in your hand that you would not be able to predicate on those acts. The pressure comes on you. But I think with the wisdom and the knowledge that he has, he can rethink this action, and before you know it, we will be freed from this.
Thank you. Honorable, they say he who wears the crown, certainly knows where. And permit me to say that the only person who can guarantee security of persons and their goods is the administration. the governor says that he is monitoring the situation and that when things get better, he will uplift the curfew. Is he not right to want to protect you and your luggages or whatever you have as possessions?
The essence of this is not just being right. The essence is in getting the right measures that will relieve the population of the Northwest and the Southwest of the barbarism that we are facing. It's not just a matter of being right or being wrong. It's a matter of being reasonable. It's a matter of being rational. I've been asking myself, if for 3 years you've been imposing a curfew and the situation has not been ameliorating or changing, then it is high time you stop, you rethink, you question, and you evaluate the measures that you have been taking and ask yourself whether those measures are appropriate to the goal that you've set to achieve. I must confess that if the intention of the governor who represents the Cameroonian government here in the Northwest,
the representative of the head of state, is to bring peace, harmony, and development to this region, then he has failed woefully. I must take this categorically. He has failed 3 years, and we can't say that we are improving. The situation is improving, or the war against the separatists is succeeding. We can't say that. We leave this situation in the Northwest and the Southwest. Contrary to what people will say on TV in Yaoundé and Douala, we leave it in the Northwest. We do not see it, we live it. We see it, we feel it, we touch it, we see it, and we hear it. So it's a matter of the governor sitting down and asking himself, are these measures that I'm imposing productive, counterproductive, or they are not hearing? Thank you. Gaby Ambo, you are a human rights consultant. Permit me ask you, of recent, I traveled from Douala to Bamenda, and I was forced to sleep in the car at the entrance to Bamenda. That's from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. We also have cases of business persons who cannot operate their nightclubs and so on and so forth with licenses that they had acquired. From a human rights perspective, is this a human right abuse or a human right violation?
Of course, who holds control of the laws of the land? Is it the subject or the governors? Is it the governed or the administration? Of course, you have the answer just like I do. That is the administration, is the governors, is the leaders that have been put there by the people as per Article 21, Sub 1, 2, 3 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which excerpts of it are found in the Cameroon Constitution, the preambular clause, made applicable by Article 65 of same Constitution. So you can sue the state of Cameroon for violating your rights. Okay, because it's the government of Cameroon to guarantee your protection and your safety, to be able to make meaningful the laws you have engaged to carry out what business activity you are engaged in. And for no reason at one point in time, you are stopped from getting to do that, and yet you have not stopped paying tax. And this is a worrying and troubling situation. And to stop and go back to what he raised about peace, before I come back, I want to make us to understand that peace does not exist, in space. Before you talk about peace, you are talking about freedom. You talk about justice. Peace is the third element. Peace can only emanate or come in a situation where there is freedom, there is justice. Then can you expect peace to prevail in a community? When you don't find these two preceding elements, then you cannot be calling for peace. Then definitely you have something to hide. And that's why I'm telling the administration, that's why I'm telling the powers that be, that it's important for you to get right, to do what is right, as per your own conviction even, before going down to the legal prescriptions or the moral norms of our society. We know truly that there are extrajudicial killings that's going on daily basis. And these guys have taken it upon themselves to do the things which even the government does not authorize. But how do you pick them to shift them away from the other persons? And a lot more people are losing lives. Lives are being lost indiscriminately and targetedly, for reasons that definitely we can understand, for a matter that the administration could have brought this matter to rest for. I suppose the authorities of this land know exactly what this issue is and how they can bring it to rest. It will not take a second for them. Sit on the table, in less than 30 minutes, we are done with this exercise. But because someone doesn't want to go the right way, because you want to keep staying, we definitely wouldn't get out of here, maybe in the next 10 years.
Thank you. Honorable, because of time, I'll be getting your last word in a few seconds. What do you think we can do to better this situation?
When you have two factions, two opposing sides fighting and they are extremists, the ultimate solution is to bring in a third party, either within, internally, or externally. I was seriously affected when the Cardinals' initiative was torpedoed. Okay. Maybe temporarily, but I looked upon that initiative as the ultimate panacea of what we are facing today in Cameroon, because to me, the government of Cameroon is an extremist government. On the other hand, we have the Amazonians who are two extremists in their own positions. In such a situation, you need a third party to interpose and to bring both parties to reason. And the government of Cameroon that has the legal authority to rule and to govern, it is incumbent upon them to oversee that this crisis finds a denouement. To me, we need a third-party intercession.
Thank you.
To solve the current crisis.
Thank you, Ambo Gaby. In few seconds, please, your last words with regards to the subject.
If I have anything to say, is we have to own the children who were affected, kidnapped, adopted. Some are brought, some are not there. We have recent developments from Kumba on about 25 students that have been kidnapped with the principal. This will spiral to the other sections of the country if no attention is brought to it. So the only thing I can say is asking the authorities of the land to which we belong to be serious, get to the root cause of what we are on, as if they are not aware, they know perfectly well. Bring a reasoned decision. Such reasoned decision, like he has rightly said, where we are, it will not be one party deciding. No, let's give room for a mediator. Be national or international. But as per my recommendation, it should be international, because the stakes have gone to the level of worrying a national mediator technically cannot move it, because it is seen as a party either way. So we'll get an international mediator who will come in to take the matter from there and vindicate every other person who has been remanded in custody since 2016 on this very issue. And we bring it to rest reasonably, because we can do that. It's just a matter of taking the will. It takes a political will for a people, a government, to say, yes, we've understood, here is the answer, this is the time, and that's how you get it.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, televiewers, to have been there. On this edition of The Lamb, we had Gaby Ambo, we had Honorable Ntam Jeams. I have been Staffman Ambe Macmillian Hour, thanking you for walking our path this day over WAKA Africa TV. It's all on The Lamb that we brighten our minds, ideas, and redirect personal ideologies to global thoughts. Take the rendezvous for next edition of the program.